Hello friends, welcome to our next lecture on financial analytics. This is going to be part 2 of our lecture series on financial analytics, or what you call as analytics in finance. In the previous lecture of mine, I tried to explain you the background of financial analytics, or you can say what you call as business analytics. What is the need of, why do we need analytics in our business, be it finance, be it marketing, or be it HR. So that was basically a background lecture. That was a lecture to offer you a background. What exactly is the reason for this analytics in our business operations? In this lecture of mine, I'll tell you about the difference between traditional financial analysis and advanced analytics, and we'll also talk about the meaning, definition, and scope of data analytics. So let us first start with the data analytics. What exactly we mean by the data analytics? Analytics is basically the use of data. Some people ask me, what is analytics? How do we define it? So if you go through the different books which are available on data analytics, I have also taken this definition from one of the popular book on data analytics, which talks about analytics as a use of data, information technology, statistical analysis, quantitative methods, and mathematical or computer based models. So it is not only that you are going to analyze the data, you are having data, you are having the help from information technology, you are having statistical techniques, you have quantitative methods, you have mathematical or computer based models, and all these are combined together to help managers gain improved insight about their business operations. And objective is what? To make better and fact-based decisions. So whatever decisions we are going to take, that should be well supported by the facts and figures. And for that, what we need is, we need analytics. So data analytics becomes very powerful with the combination of these different sources, what you call as the component of data analytics. So you have data, you have IT, you have statistical analysis, you have quantitative methods, and you have mathematical or computer based models to help managers gain improved insight about their business operation and make better and fact based decisions. What is business analytics? If you ask me about business analytics applications, basically it is a management of customer relationships. You have business analytics applications, and here you have management of customer relationships, financial and marketing activities, along with supply chain management, human resource planning, and pricing decisions. So these are basically used in business analytics. Business analytics applications are not only used in business, but also in management and customer relationships. If you talk to a person of marketing, he will actually show you the perspective of marketing analytics, because their data is belonging to marketing activities, and their analytics is basically combined together for the marketing activities. If you talk to supply chain management person, he or she will basically look at the supply chain aspect of that business enterprise. If you talk to a human resource manager or human resource management person, the person will talk about the human resource planning. If you talk to a marketing guy who is looking at the pricing aspect of their business enterprise, they will look at pricing decisions. So business analytics is basically one, and there can be different subsets of that, and they can be called as financial analytics, marketing analytics, or HR analytics. So there is a strong relationship with profitability of businesses, revenue of businesses, and shareholders' return. That is something which we need to realize, and we need to believe that there is a strong relationship with profitability of business, their revenue. Because if revenue is on the higher side, of course, if revenue has some margin component, it is going to add on to your profitability. Your profit will increase, and eventually it will provide us the better shareholders return. So this business analytics is going to enhance the understanding of data. It is vital for businesses to remain competitive, because if you have data, if you have access over the data and you're not able to draw inferences out of it, meaningful inferences, of course the data is of no use for you, because you have to make a decision. Suppose I have the data that my customers, I have 10 million of customers in this area to cater, and my preparation is not according to that, and my customers are coming and there is a loss of sales, there is loss of sales opportunity, customers are demanding, I'm not able to cater to them. So of course I'm going to lose that opportunity of retaining those customers, and by the time I create those resources, what will happen? Those customers will definitely approach some other suppliers who are ensuring continuous supply. Next is it enables creation of informative reports also. The creation of report is basically the most powerful part of business analytics, that you can basically have the informative reports on a click of mouse. You have the entire data. It is just like when we are applying a statistical software. If you have gone through some of the statistical tools like SPSS, some of the softwares like SPSS or MOS or R, you have worked on that. It is only about feeding the data. If data is uploaded properly, you can generate n number of reports out of that. Likewise, in business analytics, you have that capability, you have that resources wherein you can create reported reports, you can create automated reports, and even those reports are drawing, they are giving you some insights also, that this is the word cloud. Nowadays what is happening, when we go for earlier we were doing a literature review, we were going through research to research, paper to paper analysis. Suppose I have to go through 100 research papers for my PhD work. What I'll do, I'll take up, I'll have access to all those 100 papers, I'll read, and then I'll write the basic findings of them to write in my literature review. But now it is not so. We have systematic literature review where you are simply having access to the huge databases of Scopus or Web of Science or whatever is the web, repository you are willing to use. So you can basically have the access of that database, simply upload that data on the software, and you are able to find out that what is the strength of publication. You can have number of reports generated, you can have citation analysis, you can have affiliation analysis, you can find that in which part of the world on this topic research is going on, what is the number of citations, what is the productivity of that research, what is the I-10 index, what is H index, and what not. So it is basically the power of technology which we are using into our business operations, and this is basically the significance of business analytics. So what is the scope of business analytics? Some people ask me, sir, what is the scope of business analytics? If I have to devise an acronym, I would say it is PDP. Mind here, it is PDP. So we can have an acronym of PDP where we talk about predictive analysis. P stands for predictive analysis, D stands for descriptive analysis, and third P stands for prescriptive analysis. So I'll explain to you one by one what is predictive analysis, what is descriptive analysis, and what is prescriptive analysis. So let us start with predictive analysis. As the name itself is suggesting, we are analyzing the past performance to make a prediction. I have to predict something. I am basically going through the past data that in past this has happened, and based on that I am basically making a forecast that in future this is going to happen. That is called, if we are using this analytics with that motive, we call it predictive analytics. So under the scope of business analytics, if you are analyzing the past performance, we will call it, you are analyzing past performance to make a prediction, we call it predictive analysis. If you are using data to understand past and present, you are basically having you are using analytics for understanding the past and present, that this has happened in the past and at present this is what is the status. If we call it descriptive analytics, you are describing. It's a kind of description you are getting that since last 10-20 years this has happened. So from past till date, like suppose if I have to find out the performance of a company in last 10 years, I am basically having access to the database of that company, the financial data of that company from say 2012 to 2022, and that 10 years data is available with me. So I would, and I am using analytics to draw inferences out of it, I would say that it is nothing but descriptive analytics, because it is giving me a description of what all has happened with this company, with their stocks, with their profitability, with their business plan, what this company has done, that all I can find. But when we talk about prescriptive analytics, this is very powerful. Here we are using optimization techniques. We have different optimization techniques to optimize the outcome of our financial statements, or what you call as the data which we are having with us. So if I am using optimization techniques for prescribing that, see, this can be done to improvise your situation. Because if you'll keep on doing what others have been doing, you'll keep on getting what others have been getting. So if you really want to make something innovative, you want to gain some competitive advantage or comparative advantage over others, over your competitors, then of course you have to change. If you really wish to change your condition, you'll have to change your direction. So prescriptive analytics is basically an answer to that, how to optimize. So we basically need from analytics, our expectation as a professional will be to have some optimization techniques to optimize whatever data we have. So this optimization is very much important for us, and for that we have the third one, that is called prescriptive analytics. When we will have access to those tools, when I'll offer you some details about the different tools which we are using into analytics, there I'll tell you, see, this is the tool where we are using predictive analytics, this is the point where we are using descriptive analytics, and this is the point where we are using prescriptive analytics, which is basically an optimization technique for us. So if I talk about the under the scope of business analytics about a retail markdown decision, there is a shopkeeper, there is a store which is willing to go for the seasonal clearances. They have to go for inventory clearance, and for that they have to reduce the price, because the carrying cost is supposed to be a significant reason. Like we have been calculating economic order quantity with the combination of carrying cost and ordering cost, and we were deciding that what should be the economic order quantity, what should be the minimum size of order which we are supposed to place with our customers, with our suppliers, and along with that to our customers, what is the quantity in which my customer is demanding. So most of the stores, they clear their seasonal inventory by reducing prices. Now the question comes that when to reduce the price and by how much, what is the right time to reduce the price, and if I am reducing, to what extent I can reduce, what should be the percentage of reduction in the price. So this is a question which is very significant, and you must be thinking that it is something which we can decide subjectively. That suppose if the product belongs to winter season, at the fag end of the winter we'll reduce the price, and the cost we can decide depending on the expectations of the customers. But it is going to be a very vague kind of decision if you say that I will go talk to my customers and have access to the data and then make a database. So it is going to cost very high. It is going to cost you very much, because you have to hire an employee for that, and that employee will do that the entire analysis. So here comes the technology, and I just gave you one small example of retail markdown decision, that here technology can come to your rescue. You have your data of previous say 4 5 years or 6 years, or say from the very beginning, and you can find that what was the response of customers on the basis of the reduction of price. And that is nothing but your basically under PDP, what you call as prescriptive descriptive analytics. So you can find that what has happened in the past. So you can find a description of that on a click of your mouse, and there is no person to be hired. So descriptive analytics basically examines historical data for similar products. You can find the price, units sold, and whatnot. Whereas the predictive analytics, it is giving you a prediction of sales based on price. And in prescriptive, we find the best set of pricing and advertising to maximize your sales revenue. So this is something which we need. We don't need a description, we don't need a history, we don't need to make a prediction like we have been doing in the past, that we are having a trend line and we are making a plot and finding out that if everything will happen normally, this is going to be my solution. But what if you come across a new normal? And here comes the prescriptive analytics, which is finding the best sets of pricing and advertising to maximize your sales revenue. I have to maximize my sales revenue, and I have to find the best price and advertising match, that at this price you will have maximum profit. That is something which I need. Just like when I am driving my car, it is prescribed that at this, if you drive in this speed range, you will find the best of mileage. Just like that, we are having prescriptive analytics in our business operations and accounting and finance also. So what is data for business analytics? That is something which we must know. What is data for business analytics? Data is basically collected facts and figures. So these are the terms which we are going to use. Data is what? It is collected facts and figures. What is database? It is a collection of computer files containing data. What is information? Information is something which is coming from the analysis of data. Once I analyze the data, I get information, I get to know. So most of the accounting and finance people, they feel that data is information. Data and information both are the same. No, you have data, you have database. But when you are analyzing, you can add meaning to that data. It is just like letting data speak to you. So when I'm analyzing, my data speaks. I'm giving you the data of data of your profitability for last 10 years. It is only a figure. But if I try to find out that Y on Y, year on year, this has been the trend of increment in my profit, that is something which is coming from the data, which is adding meaning to that numerical value. So information is basically coming from what? It is coming from analyzing data. There are certain other terms also which I think that you should know. Metrics, they are basically used to quantify performance. So metrics are used to quantify the performance. What is the measure? Measures are numerical value of metrics. Suppose you have a metric and you are numerically expressing that, we will say that it is a measurement of that metric. So suppose if you have five metrics into that, they are used to quantify your performance. So measures are numerical value of those metrics. Discrete metrics, they involve counting. Say in terms of on time or not on time, somebody is working on time, somebody is supplying not on time, number or proportion of on time deliveries, late deliveries, that is something which we can find. And this is basically classified as discrete metrics because it involves counting. You are making a count that how many times your supplier has delivered on time and how many times the supplier has failed to keep the promise. So accordingly you can take a decision. Continuous metrics are basically measured on a continuum: delivery time, package weight, purchase price. So it is not only one parameter, there are other parameters also. So these are the key terms which we are using in business analytics. Now the question comes, what is big data? Whenever I go to the class of analytics, my students are asking me, sir, data I know that it is basically the set of values which are given to us. There is a database. I also know the information. But what is big data? When do we call the data to be big? So when you are having information from multiple internal and external sources like transactions, social media, enterprise content, sensors, mobile devices, then we call it big data. Because the sourcing of data is not from one place. There is not only one source of data. You have n number of sources to collect the data. And of course, when you are approaching different sources, the size of your data becomes big. So we call it big data. Suppose if you talk about the performance of or you have to rate a person, you have to conduct a sentiment analysis. Say for instance, what is sentiment analysis? There we find the polarity, whether it is favorable or it is against. So yes or no, are you in favor of that or you are against that? So for that, what we are doing, we are trying to find out the transactions of a person, social media account, what exactly is the news about that person in the social media, enterprise content, sensors, mobile devices, and there can be other sources also depending on the nature of that analysis which you are willing to conduct. So big data is nothing but it is a data which is collected from multiple internal and external sources. Since there are multiple sourcing, the size of data becomes huge, and that is why we call it big data, and time belongs to big data. Companies are basically leveraging data to adopt products and services for what? For meeting customer needs, for optimizing their operations, for optimizing their infrastructure, for finding the new source of revenues. And more importantly, this big data can reveal more patterns and anomalies. Sometimes you find from one source that see this is good, from other source you are finding that it is not good. It is just like finding a rating. Say, suppose if you are finding a rating on Google that a particular service provider is having a rating of 3.5 or 3.6. So there you can have more patterns that on one source, on one particular website the rating is 3.5, on another it is 2.5, on third one it is 5. So you can find more patterns and anomalies. So if you basically cast your eyes to the different platforms, you will find that this analytics is something which we are witnessing every hour, every minute. So every transaction I am making for every purchase of mine, I am basically in one way or the other I am using this data. If you are having access to your credit card bill, even into that bill which you are getting, which you have to pay, in that you have all the transactions listed, and along with that they are telling you that what is the point you have gained, and they are also informing you about the late payments you have made in the past, what is your rating by that banker, what is your CIBIL score, you can find. So it is all coming to us via what? Via data analytics, via financial analytics, and if it is belonging to finance, it is financial analytics. Now coming to the types of data, while collecting or gathering data, we need to know what are the different types of data, and what is the difference between data and variable. A variable is basically a unit of data collection whose value can vary. That is why we call it variable. And variables can be defined in two different types according to the level of mathematical scaling which can be carried out on the data. There are four types of data or levels of measurement you call. One is categorical, which is also known as nominal. Second one is ordinal. Then we have interval and ratio. So nominal, ordinal, interval and ratio, these are the four types of data. I'll tell you briefly what is nominal data. Nominal, or it is also called as categorical data. It is basically comprising of categories which cannot be rank ordered, and each category is different, so you cannot rank them in any order, or you cannot provide that it is A, B, C or it is 1, 2, 3, because it is nominal or categorical data, and it cannot be placed in any order, and no judgment can be made about the relative size or distance from one category to another. That is basically the very characteristics of the data, nominal data, and they bear no quantitative relationship to one another. They are basically qualitative in nature. There is no quantitative relationship among them. So if you ask me for the example, I would say customers' location. So there are different customers, they have different locations. That is basically a nominal data. Employee classification based on designation. Somebody is assistant professor, associate professor and professor. Their designation is nominal data. So you cannot have a comparison of assistant professor with that of associate professor in terms of designation. So it is basically categorization of that employee. So what exactly we mean by this? No mathematical operations can be performed on the data relative to each other, right? So therefore nominal data reflect qualitative differences rather than quantitative ones. Whereas when we talk about ordinal data is, as the term itself is indicating, that it is comprising of categories that can be rank ordered. Ordinal means coming from the order. Examples are, suppose if you have college rankings or survey responses like poor, average, good, excellent, something like that. So it is basically you can make statistical judgments and perform limited maths on ordinal data. if you have this data available. Ordinal data is giving you the order, the rank order, the preferences. Rankings can be an example of that. Survey responses can be example of that. But remember, there is no fixed unit of measurement into it. Whereas in interval and ratio data, if you ask me, both interval and ratio data are examples of scale data. We call them as scale data. So data is basically a numeric, data is in numeric format here. You have a quantified value here, and it can be measured on a continuous scale, and that is why the distance between each can be observed as a result of measurement, and the data can be placed in rank order also. Since you have the values, you can give a ranking to them also. Ordinal data with constant differences between observations, ratios here are not meaningful. If you ask me for the example, I would say time, which moves along a continuous measure, or seconds, minutes, and so on, and is without a 0 point of time. Whereas for ratio data is measured on a continuous scale, and it does have a natural 0 point. And ratios are meaningful because you can have monthly sales, you can have delivery timings, that these many times the delivery was not on time, and it was basically a failure. There are different decision models for this business analytics. Model is what? Basically it is an abstraction or representation of a real system, idea, or object. It is capturing the most important features and can be written or verbal, written as a verbal description, a visual display. It can be a mathematical formula, or it can be a spreadsheet format. So model can also be in a spreadsheet format. You can find there. So it is used basically to understand, analyze, and facilitate decision making. And if you ask me about the model inputs, in any model, what is the input? Data, controllable variables, which are basically known as decision variables, and lastly uncontrollable variables. So decision models are basically it can be descriptive, again just like the scope of business analytics. The models are also on the same parameter. You can have descriptive decision models, which is simply telling you what is, and it is describing the relationships. Example, if you ask me, I would say an influence diagram of total cost of a firm. And remember, it is not at all going to give any guidance to the managers what to do. It is simply telling you what is there, because it is describing. Whereas if you talk about a break-even decision model, you can find break-even point, you can find margin of safety, and this is basically a predictive decision model which incorporate uncertainty to help managers analyze the risk. And their aim is to predict what will happen in the future, and that is why they are having this nature of guiding. So uncertainty is imperfect knowledge of what will happen in the future, and here comes the role of this predictive model, which is giving us the prediction. So with this, I try to offer you the key terms and the significant aspects of business analytics and financial analytics. I hope you must have understood and enjoyed today's lecture of mine. Thank you so much.